Let's get down to business. Trump's move to end temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of people is creating a labor shortage in many states. This story matters. According to immigrant rights groups, about 93,000 Haitians alone who had TPS were part of Florida's workforce, from restaurant workers to nursing assistants, especially for the elderly, which Florida has a whole lot of. Now businesses are scrambling to replace them and in some cases cutting back on their entire operations. It is a reminder that immigration and the Trump administration's deportation push is not just a moral story, it's an economic one. Joining me now, Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, and Catherine Rampell, MS Now anchor and economics editor for The Bulwark. Justin, we all saw this coming. And I'm just thinking back to, when Trump announced ending TPS status, I watched so many people in the media say, great, now Americans are going to fill those jobs and we're going to take those businesses back. This is going to be great. Great schmate. Talk to us about the impact on Florida's economy, because these are essential businesses and essential workers.
Mate, did that question come to me just because I'm the immigrant, that I'm the one who came in and stole the jobs from the hardworking Americans, and that your audience at home right now is feeling that I have undermined the American experience and things could be so much better if only a pack of bastards like me would go home? Look, that's one view, and it's a legitimate view. But the other side of this is, look, the economics of immigration at one level is very simple. Each of us is a person. That doesn't sound like I'm saying much, but what that means is that you, Steph, an American, and me, an immigrant, we are both buyers and sellers. When people talk about immigrants stealing jobs, they're only thinking about that one half of it. They're thinking about the fact that I'm a seller of my labour services. They're worried I'm going to take someone's job. But the other thing is, just like you, Steph, I buy stuff. And because we think the typical American basically buys enough stuff to create another job, having one more American doesn't cost anyone their jobs. And so that's what's playing out right now in Florida. They're going to get rid of a whole bunch of people from America. That will get rid of a bunch of workers, but it will also get rid of a bunch of buyers. Roughly speaking, those folks were buying as much stuff as they were creating as many jobs as they were displacing. America's not going to come out ahead. And actually, it's a little bit worse than that, which is we're going to lose the ingenuity of those folks. We're going to lose that bigger tent, and we're going to lose that beautiful mixing bowl that is the United States.
Catherine, weigh in on this. According to the Ford Foundation, on an average day in the United States, over 30 million immigrants are working. That is 1 in 6 employees. But here we are. Let's get them out.
Yeah. Justin points out that immigrants are both workers and consumers. I would add to that the kinds of work that immigrants are most likely to fall into, the kinds of occupations and industries that they typically work in, are ones that already often experience lots of labor shortages. I'm thinking things like agricultural work, where something like 2/3 of the workforce is foreign-born, whether those are people who are documented or undocumented, as well as construction, home health aides, food services. These are a lot of sectors that have found it difficult to find workers to take those jobs. They're often very difficult jobs. They're often not the best paying jobs. They require a lot of backbreaking work if you're, working at a nursing home, for example, or you're out there on the farm. And so when we lose these workers, those jobs will often go begging. I don't think they're going to be as easily filled by native-born Americans because they're already having difficulty, these employers, finding people to fill those positions. What that may mean is that in a lot of those fields, prices may go up. For the end users, whether we're talking about food, which the administration has already actually tacitly acknowledged. Some of their civil servants have crunched the numbers and said, yeah, if you deport a large portion of the labor force, the agricultural labor force, food prices will go up, or healthcare, or any of these other fields. So this is not just a as you called it, a moral issue, a humanitarian tragedy for these immigrants and for their families. It's also going to be potentially an economic catastrophe, at least in these sectors where they're already struggling to find nursing home aides and people to pick crops and process meat and things like that.
It's exactly in our next hour. Catherine, Art Cullen is joining us. He's from Storm Lake, Iowa. Wait until he tells our audience who works in those meat processing plants. And it's neither Catherine nor me. Let's talk about the bond market, Justin, because while the president of the United States is the leader of the free world, he is the most powerful person in the world. We have seen time and again he does have a boss. And Donald Trump's boss, his daddy, is the bond market. And we are seeing it again. Long-term interest rates, the yields on 30 years, those bonds are hitting their highest level since 2007, which is just before the financial crisis. What is the most concerning to you about this?
There's a deep question about why this is rising, and there's basically two stories going on, which is, one, there's a huge AI build-out, which means that companies need to borrow a lot. If there's some companies that need to borrow a lot, then that tends to jack up interest rates. That jacks them up for the rest of us. If that AI build-out ends up making our economy a more efficient place to live, fantastic. The second thing, though, is much more concerning. The other huge borrower in global markets right now is the US government. The untold story of the present moment is just how big our budget deficit is. Our budget deficit today as a share of GDP is the largest it's ever been in the post-war period, with the exceptions of COVID and the financial crisis. It's the sort of deficit you would run if we were in a moment like COVID or the financial crisis. The result of that is, if there's a lot more government borrowing, interest rates go up. Anyone who's out there trying to get a mortgage right now knows how much more expensive it is, a car loan, credit card, and so on. So let's come back to the president promised to reduce prices on day one to enhance affordability, but high interest rates put a home, a car, or paying off the credit card bill even further out of reach for regular Americans.